Hey, good afternoon. Happy Sunday, everyone. It's Frank Tikas dropping knowledge once again, coming at you with a little message, dropping a little bit of knowledge, hoping you're all enjoying your day. First and foremost, I just want to thank everyone that's been watching my videos, commenting on my videos, hitting that like on my videos, and are subscribing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It makes me just want to continue putting out more content, and there's always going to be a mix of things. I want to make sure to put out content that you enjoy and also address things that I want to address with you guys that I want to clarify, like I'm doing today. So, just once again, thank you because it's through the engagement in the comments, through you guys watching my videos, that it gives me the energy, it gives me creative juices start flowing for me to start putting my mind on the next project. That's how I treat these things. I treat them as small projects, that I'm doing as a hobby. And if I get traction, if I end up monetizing at some point, that'll be good. That's something that I'm looking forward to. Now, I wanted to make this video. This is actually like the third run I've had at it because I don't want to speak too much. I don't want to give too much credence to certain things. And I also want to be very careful that I don't disrespect anyone and that people understand where I'm coming from in regards to the topic at hand. One of the things that I've noticed since I began my channel, well, lately, since I restarted my channel, and I became very determined to go at certain content creators and align myself with Exposed to. Shout out to the homie Exposed Tube and everyone that follows him and is a part of the movement. Is that I'm getting or I've been attacked personally by other content creators and by their followers, which is okay, I guess. Give me a second. And one of the things that I had to address early on, and I made a video about it. I left a community tab on it, and I just want to make clear that I address it right now. Is people associating me or mixing my name up with Megan's Law, and you guys understand what that means, right? And once again, I just want to make it very clear that you can search my name up and down any registry and you won't find it because I'm not about that. If anything, my whole trip is contrary to all of that. Okay, and you guys will see that as more content comes out, as I put out more of my ideas in YouTube. Another thing that was, that I was questioned on and I was attacked about in one of my comment sections was someone saying that everyone that gets in front of a camera and puts out YouTube that was locked up had to be PC, had to be a rat, had to be this, had to be that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. That's not true. That's not true at all. Okay. I'm going to be very clear and specific in saying that that is not my case at all. I did my time. I ran my program. I stayed on in the main line until the moment that I had to go and fight my immigration case. No, but in I fought my immigration case. I was stayed also on the main line. Like there was never any Frank Ticas rolling it up, debriefing at all, ever. Okay, and that, I don't know, like I've lost touch with a lot of people. I don't like dropping names. I don't like mentioning people that I did time with. I hope most of them are out. But anyone that did time with me that may run across a video of mine, and if you're watching this and you saw me and remember me, let these people know. That's all I gotta say. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, so I've been questioned about it, and which led me to really start reading a lot of the comments, a lot of the that the people are making on other channels, and just this drive and this I've noticed it more lately where more content creators are talking about the status of other people and making that like their whole thing, like the status of so and so, and is this person really active, is that person really active, and And it's made to seem as that should matter. Like that status, whatever that status is, whether it's good or bad, depending on who's saying it and who's addressing it, they're making it seem as though that's all you should focus on. And all you should focus on is that person's status. And if that person's status was not good at some point, based on, the way criminals see it, the way people that are in gangs see it, the way that people that are associated and are behind bars see it, if they see it as wrong, then you should also see it as wrong, and therefore don't engage with them. Therefore, they're lying to you. Therefore, this and this and that. Okay, that's what's been going on. So first and foremost, I need to address what is active. What is it to be active? Well, as far as my understanding is, and you guys can put, if I'm wrong or if I'm missing something, you can put it in the comments section. As far as I'm concerned, there's really only two statuses that these people are talking about, and both of those are nobody's concerns but that person and the association that they belong or belonged to. Nobody else. Nobody else. Okay? Especially if you're watching these videos to see changed men. Okay, now keyword here is changed. Keyword here is have they made amends? Keyword here is are they now conforming to a social construct to where they are productive members of society? And it could be through YouTube videos. I'm not going to knock how people make their money or how they end up paying their taxes, unless it's criminal. You got to be careful. I'm never going to vouch for you, but if you're out there, doing your thing and you're trying to make money and maybe it's not, on the lawful side of things, be careful. That's all I'm going to say. Because then maybe what we're talking about is going to end up mattering to you, but not to me. So status should not matter. Whether you're active or not should not matter. But who should it matter to and when does it become important? So the only people that should really care about their status, if they're active or not, is number one, the person who is saying or disclosing or who we're speaking of, and the entity that they belong to. Now, just so everyone understands, and I'm sure that everybody that's done time or has watched enough YouTube content about this will know that when you are locked up, like I was, and you have to go through the booking process, and then you have to go into where you're processed. You go then to the jail, to the county jail, and while you're fighting your case, you're in the county jail. And if you're convicted, and depending on the type of crime it is and how many years they give you, you might end up staying in the county jail, or you might end up going to a state prison. If it's a federal thing, then you go to federal prison. I'm not going to talk about federal prison because I've never been in one, and when I was in one, I was only there because I was fighting my case with immigration. Okay, that's the only time that I was in federal prison. It wasn't because that's a federal crime, but I wasn't necessarily, a white collar criminal. So, when you are being processed, you are asked if who will you affiliate yourself with? Who are you going to run with? And that is the initial status that you're given, and it's given to you because they need to house you, because there's the authorities, the COs, and everyone involved within the prison system is supposed to take care of you. You're supposed to be protected behind bars. You're supposed to be fed. You're supposed to be housed. If there are opportunities for education, you're supposed to have that. You get benefits like health and other things that some people out on the street don't even have. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation. But in order for you to be housed accordingly, you need to say who you are, who you roll with, if you do roll with someone, right? And usually people do decide. Now, I was not a gang member, but knew gang members. I grew up around gang members. My cousin was involved in gangs. I was doing a lot of the stuff that I was doing in the business I was doing out on the street was with gang members. So obviously, I felt close and associated more towards gang members and, those that were in that life than maybe paisano, right? Than maybe someone that was involved in other crimes but had hardly spoke English, things like that. Those were more like my uncle and my dad, and so I couldn't see myself kicking it too much or associating myself if I was gonna. And I knew I was gonna do some time, so I'm like, I already know, I knew that who I was gonna associate with when I got locked up, So being from Southern California, you can pretty much guess, I ended up doing all of my time representing and being on the main line. Now, was I a level 3, level 4 killer? No, I got busted for, ended up being an armed robbery. I got 5 years. You don't get too many points for that unless there was a lot of violence, unless you shot someone, unless you killed someone, and none of that happened. Right? So I'm not going to pretend and act as though I was some hardcore whoop 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 wah 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 out on the street just doing damage and no one can stop me. Ah, come see me. No, I was just doing things. I was doing things that were illegal. Now, would I get into fights? Yeah, everyone gets into fights. Did I have I ever killed anyone? I don't think so. I know I haven't, right? So when you end up going to jail, you have to associate, you have to decide who you're going to run with. And all that time that I did, I was associated with those from Southern California, and I did what I was supposed to do. I never signed up for anything. I never acted as though I was the hardest for anything. And I think I got more respect for that because I was a hustler. I drew cards and did portraits, made money. I was allowed to do business with all kinds of people because the money I was bringing in. Obviously I had all of my canteen down. I would always go to the store. I was always getting packages, and I was always, whatever I had was the homies. They could go up to me, and if I had cookies, I would share. As a matter of fact, whenever I would receive something, I would always create little packs and I would give people, back then we still had Bugler, so I would buy Bugler cans. I didn't even smoke, but I would give pouches of Bugler to the homies because these are the people I'm living with. I've always been that way. I'm that way now. Now, were there opportunities to climb up the ranks? Yeah, but I was not concerned with none of that at all. My eyes were, I need to get out of here. And I remember talking to lifers and having them tell me just, hey man, if you get out there, do right, do this, do that. And I could see in these old men like, wow, they must live with so many regrets. They must really hate to get close to people, knowing that some of these people are going to go back on the street, you know? And all of that made me realize that this was not the place I wanted to be. But even though I maintained, I stayed true to what I was doing, and I ended up paroling, ended up, you know, getting, sent out. Is my standing good? I don't care. I don't plan on going back to prison. Okay, but if I were to go back to prison, I know that I would go back to a main line. No, if it was in California, and if they saw me, obviously they would go back and they would see I wouldn't even really have to say anything. They would automatically affiliate me and associate me with a certain party because that's who I ran with during my time. But as soon as I got out, that status disappeared. Why? Because I didn't go back out to continue criming, and I didn't go back out to continue being in the neighborhood, being a gang member. So, as soon as you're out of prison, buddy, that status is over. So, all of these people that you hear talking about, oh, my standing is good, woo, 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 woo. If they're no longer banging, nobody cares. They don't even care. They're just doing it for chisme, for clicks, for views, and just to dog and trash other people. But unfortunately, a lot of you guys are consuming it. A lot of you guys are, carrying it back and forth to see who crashes out and who doesn't. And that's why I wanted to bring this up because I think people need to be a little bit more responsible with what they talk about. Now, the second status that should matter to some people is their status with their gang, if they're active with their gang or they're not active. Now, this is something else because there's a lot of dudes that are still gang members, but they're not active, but they're still good with their neighborhood. They have families that work, that go to the barbecues. If there's a softball game, they show up. If there's a Veterans Day, the other veteranos, they show up all dressed up with their brochas, and they're celebrated for having survived. And I think that, for a gang member, for someone that grew up in that lifestyle, that was surrounded by that lifestyle, when they see these dudes, when they see these older gentlemen that have made it through, still alive, still being respected, that's probably their goal. And I don't knock it because these are lifestyle choices. This is, especially in Southern California, that is a culture. Gangs are part of the culture in LA. For better or for worse, it is what it is. Now, if while you did your time, you rolled it up, being a gang member, and then you get out back to your neighborhood, and you still want to continue being a gang member, then that prison status will definitely affect you if someone puts the word out there and your homies find out. It'll be your own homies that take care of it. They're the ones that will be concerned with it, but nobody else. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you were locked up with someone and you knew that that person was from a gang and you knew that person did something and they ended up rolling it up or debriefing or whatever. And then you go out on the street. What, do you think it's not up to you to take care of that? That's not even your homie. And it's not even up to you to say anything about it. Now, if you happen to run into one of his homeboys, and maybe you're cool, and maybe they ask, and you say, "Well, you know what? So and so did this and this." That's on you if you want to talk about it, but it's not up to you, and you shouldn't care. The only ones that need to care about that man's status are him and his gang, or him if he's still in prison and living that life. But if they're on YouTube making videos, making content, that shouldn't even be a factor. What are we talking about here? Are you going to stop going to work because someone at work, the driver, rolled it up in while he was doing time? You don't even know. You think they're going to come and tell you, "Yeah, you know what? I rolled it up." And who cares if he did? It's like this is the elementary type of conversation that really I don't want to be a part of, but I have to address it because it's wild. It gets out of hand. It's crazy. Especially when, a lot of these channels started by saying and by preaching change. Like, "Oh yes, we're changed men. We were given a second opportunity at life, blah 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 blah." But then they resort to cannibalizing and to separating themselves based on statuses that nobody should care about but them, and if they're from a gang, and their gang. There are dudes that are making YouTube videos that their gangs are cool with them making YouTube videos because they're not disrespecting anyone and they're not mentioning names. They're creating content that people can enjoy without incriminating anybody. Now, if you constantly hear people talking about someone else's status or this full status or that full status, that's really the only thing that they can go on to get clicks and views, and I'm not going to be a part of that. And this is where I have to clear up any misconception as to why I'm pointing out John Villa. Is it about his status? It's not about his status per se. The reason I call out John Villa and the reason why his status is questioned is because of how he's gone about making sure to talk shit about people, calling them debriefers, calling them rats, calling them chomos, calling them all kinds of things when he was not in good standing. So what I point out is the hypocrisy. Okay, I just need for that to be very clear. If he at one point in his past life when he was still concerned about providing content, to help kids and help people and give them a chance to see the reality, the crude reality of what life behind bars is, if that was his focus, if that's what he would have stayed on, and he would have said, you know what, when I was locked up, this is what happened. And, I want you guys to understand that the reason why I did it was this and this. That would have helped out more people than all of this denying and attacking and backlashing that he does. So that's why people are on his neck, because he chose to attack. He chose to be very defensive about it and, drag other people, other content creators through the mud when he himself was full of mud. So what we point out is the inconsistency. Okay. I don't care about his status. Now people ask me, well, why do you align yourself with this guy that doesn't show his face, whose status might be questionable? Because I don't care about his status. What I care about is all of these weirdos trying to talk to kids, begging them for money to get off, to stop doing it. They don't even have to stop creating content. Just stop engaging with kids. Stop doing that. I mean, all my videos, even this video, I make it's not safe for kids. It's not for kids. My content is not for kids. Even though I think a lot of them will probably benefit from messages like this. But the kids that are watching YouTube videos aren't even out on the street, really. Because those that are out on the street aren't watching YouTube videos. They're not. If anything, is more to educate some people about, things that they may not be aware of. And there might be some people in danger, that may be thinking about joining a gang that do have the possibility of being in front of a screen and watching YouTube videos, and they find this type of content attractive. I'm here to tell you it's not. It's not a good thing. Nobody wants to be in prison. Why would that be something to glorify? I mean, I'm in my garage right now, but if I step out right here, like right here in front of this is my garage. If I step out, that's my yard. That's my yard, and I can see the sun, and I can feel the breeze. I can choose when I want to eat, when I want to go out, if I want to stay inside. Why would I want to put myself in a situation where other men dictate my goings and my comings about? I remember one time when I was in the LA County and we were in a dorm in the LA County, and someone had given me something to hold. It was a very rare solid plastic toothbrush. If you know, you know. Okay, but it wasn't, it was just nothing out of the ordinary, hadn't been processed yet. It was going to be processed. And somehow I ended up being chosen to hold on to this thing. And I remember that on one early one, whenever they would call us to court, it would always be like 3 in the morning. And I remember that one morning I woke up, and they were calling us, everyone that's going to court, get ready. And I told my bunkie, hey man, look, can you hold this? Because you gotta hold this, bro. Obviously, he was one of the homies. You gotta hold this, man. Be careful, because I gotta go to court. Well, when I came back, he didn't have it. He's like, oh, well, or I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but he didn't have it. I was like, oh. And I had already told someone else, like, hey, bro, listen, when I go to court, they're like, yeah, 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 sure, 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 wow, wow, wow. Well, when I came back, he didn't have it, and I was like, oh. So I had to go over to dude, and I'm like, hey, listen, man, this happened. I was in court when I came back. It's no longer there. Like, oh man, I'm serious. Yeah, yeah, but you had it, bro. I'm like, I know, I had it. I was holding it. So like, hey, we can't let it pass. I'm like, I I already know we can't let it pass. So we went in the back of, they moved the bunks around. They blocked the view, and I had to get down with like three other dudes, and but it was short, and it was like, nah, you know what? Don't trip. Ya estuvo. That's it. 2 days later, I went to the bunk next to mine, and I was laying down, and I look up, and it was stuck right there. I don't know I guess he hit it there, and I got it, and I go back over there. I'm like, hey man, look, here it is. Oh, well, that's female. I'm like, but it's not like I could, give them back the beat down. I got hit, shoulders, chest. We were cool, and I think that that's what led me to understand that I would never want to sign up for anything. If I'm gonna get into a calentada over something that I didn't even do, but it was my responsibility, how much more if you've been chosen to end the life of somebody, you know? I wasn't gonna sign up for that. So I don't know if you guys, will continue romanticizing it. I guess you can go ahead and be my guest. But you're not gonna get that from me. And the only ones that should care about status and being active are dudes that are locked up, that are in prison, that are about it, that are associated because they need to make their life livable behind bars, or dudes that when they get out are continue to gangbang, continue to be with their neighborhood. Their status matters. Anyone making videos, anyone that's retired, anyone that put all that behind them, it doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter. And that's not going to stop me from associating with people. And it's not going to stop me from interacting with people if their thought process is a process of change and improvement and giving a better example to those that come after us, to those that are watching us. That's what I'm all about. I know this video is a little long. I didn't expect it to be this long. But I just wanted to make it clear, man, that if you guys are hung up about the status and you guys, joke about it and you're going back and forth about it and you're making content and attacking people about it, what does that make you? You think that's a good look? You think that that's respected? I remember, and I'm going to end with this. When I was in the LA County, they I was in a cell with this dude from Cherry Street and these other two black guys. And we had the phone inside the cell. And I remember that one night he was talking on the phone and he was talking to his attorney, and he basically said he was down to tell on who had committed the crime because it hadn't been him. And I overheard him. And I told him, I'm like, hey man, hey, what's up with that? He's like, nah, but it's because they already know, blah blah blah. They already know it's not me. They already know it's common knowledge. All right. And it turned out that he was ratting on him, it made me feel kind of bad because I was still about it back then, and I made mention of it to the guys next door. They were older. I'm like, hey man, listen, if you don't got paperwork, You can't say anything. You can't do anything. But if you got a problem with the dude, we could set it up so you can get so that you can get down with him. All right, you know what? Let's set that up. And they set it up, and he wouldn't get down with me. He told the security guard he didn't want to go back to the cell, which to the CO, which was strange, right? Not really. But then we ended up coinciding in Wayside. We ended up coinciding in the same place. And when I saw him, well, when he saw me, he quickly talked to whoever he was coming with. And I went and I talked to the guy that was in charge. I'm like, hey man, look, this and this happened. I don't have the paperwork, but I want to get down with dude. I just want to get down with him. I have a problem with him. I have a problem with his attitude and how he did things. Because I remember once we were playing spades and with like against these black guys, and when he started like we started losing, he started calling them out their name, and he said, "Oh, well, you gotta get." I'm like, "Fool, you're a rat, homie. I'm not gonna get off with you for a rat, or I'm gonna get off, but then I'm gonna get off on you. Don't tell me like who are you to tell me when to get off when you're ratting on someone." But anyways, we ended up getting down. He wanted to shake my hand. I didn't shake his hand. It was left like that. And a couple of weeks later, when the chain came back and he was no longer on it, a lot of the dudes said, yeah, well, the guy was in there pointing fingers. Some of his homies came back with us. It's like, wow, that's crazy. I mean, that's the kind of life that you want to sign up for, like constantly being against people, constantly being in turmoil, not knowing when it's going to be your turn. Be my guest, but that's not me. I've been away from that too long, and it's cost me so much that I will never glorify it. It's never a good thing. It's never such a great thing to be behind bars, even if it's for a DUI. So having said that, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let's continue to get it good. Peace.